Taking off on the warm-up lap now for race 2, round 2 of the Fujitsu V8 Supercar Series, and it's a reverse top 10, so we now put our rookie Scott McLaughlin on the front row of the grid. Garth, the track looks pretty simple on paper, but it doesn't work out that way.
Very simple on paper, but always provides exciting racing for one reason or another. Not totally sure. You see only 6 corners, turns 1 and 2, quite high speed, very heavy on the brakes at turns 3, 4 and 6.
And dealing with the bumps, that's the big issue.
It is very bumpy. The track's got bumpy and bumper every year we come back here, and certainly will be a challenge for these guys making the car live over those bumps and the tyres to survive that long.
Here's the grid for race 2. You'll note that the top 10, of course, have reversed from the results of race 1. Drew Russell just missed out on making it to pole position. He'll start from 11th. James Moffat, a lot of work to do from 15th. Starting alongside Ryan Hansford, of course, their fathers raced together many years ago. Phil Foster and Nathan Vincent. Wayne Miles, former Speedway racer, makes his debut in the former Michael Patrizzi Falcon down the back of the grid. So here's the pressure. McLaughlin, 16 years of age, first time on a front row of a V8 Supercar. It's just his second ever race. Can he get it away from the grid? No, he doesn't. He goes nowhere. And Owen Kelly slams into the Fujitsu Falcon, and the Meadowland Commodore is facing in the wrong direction.
Really, Owen Kelly had nowhere to go there. He was boxed in behind Scotty McLaughlin. You feel sorry for the bloke. Stalls it off his first ever start off the front row. I know I stalled my first ever V8 Supercar start, so I know how Scotty feels. A lot of damage. He's jumping out, so there's no way he's going to progress on. Both guys jumping out, so unfortunate damage. Safety car on the circuit, obviously, with 2 cars parked at the start line.
And Owen Kelly, back from the United States, has been over there for the last couple of years. This is a car that was raced last year by Mark McNally. Here's the replay, and Owen Kelly stayed on the throttle there. That's why the car spun around.
Well, Owen actually didn't get a great start himself, so he was probably looking his rear vision mirror thinking, where's Tim Blanchard going? And then, yeah, he got boxed in, couldn't do anything about it. And Tim Blanchard, Paul Morris, David Russell, all the guys take to the grass. They actually lost a lot of time to the relative guys on the inside. See another replay here, and you see it all happen in real time. There's not a lot of time to react.
Great job from Tim Blanchard. He very easily could have become a part of that, but there is the damage at Queensland Raceway. The Kelly Racing Commodore. Owen Kelly, well, doesn't have far to go back to the pit garage.
No, that's right. Didn't really have time to work up a sweat as we see both guys walking back to the pits.
It's a lesson that Scott McLaughlin will certainly learn. He's only a young guy. We'll get a restart when we come back after the break. Back at Queensland Raceway, a restart in race 2 of the Fujitsu V8 Supercar Series. Ann Pedersen, the young Kiwi, leads the way. Nick Percat is in 2nd spot. Rodney Jane having a great weekend in 3rd. But Steve Owen, who started from 9th, is already up to 5th.
Yeah, we had a bit of a mix-up, obviously, with that initial start. The outside row really didn't get a chance. So anyone that was on the inside got basically a free kick up the grid. So Steve Owen and Jack Perkins both take a massive advantage of that. Now, race 1 winner, who should have been starting from 10th, and you would expect get a couple off the line, had to take to the grass and is basically last now and has to fight his way all the way back through the field.
He's got 10 laps to do it, and now Owen makes a lunge on Jack Perkins, who has been spending a lot of time preparing this car along with the help of his housemate Tim Slade. It's his first start of the season. He works for Paul Morris these days as a storeman and a sign rider. Now he gets back behind the wheel and he's pressuring the championship leader.
Putting some pressure on Steve Owen, and not something that Steve Owen would have expected after his clean run at the Clipsal 500 weekend. Now has a couple of real hot shots giving him a run for his money. See Rodney Jane there in that X888 Falcon doing a very good job, taking advantage of this reverse grid race, but now Steve Owen straight up the inside.
And of course Steve Owen will drive with Jamie Whincup for Team Vodafone later in the endurance races. But at the front, it's Ant Pedersen driving for Matthew White's team. This is the car that won the championship last year in the hands of Jonathan Webb, and in fact clean swept the round here at Queensland Raceway. But this is the young guy, Nick Percat, who you've had a bit to do with in recent times.
Had a lot to do with Nick in his Formula 4 days, and now trying to help him with his transition into V8 Supercars. Actually, my old car, Chassis 49, that he's driving, that I used in 2005 at the HSV dealer team.
They call me a chassis nerd. That's good info.
I only found that out when I drove his car at a test day prior to this round to just give him a hand with feedback. As I see now, Jack Perkins up the inside at turn 3. Quite a popular passing opportunity. Rodney Jones saw him coming, left the gap open so that there was no contact, no foul.
And Pedersen out in front, but this man's catching. Steve Owen chipping his way through the traffic, of course. Series champion in 2008.
We said in the opener that this is a really good opportunity for the guys like Nick Percat using the Fujitsu series as a real development tool to learn their trade, to race against guys like Steve Owen who've been in the main game, know how it all works, a genuine contender's got genuine speed. Now they get to race against each other and find out what the main game level's all about.
Rodney Jane managed to do a full test day at Winton ahead of this round, which is quite rare. He's a busy guy in terms of his business matters, so getting behind the wheel of a car isn't quite the be-all and end-all of his world like it is for, say, a Nick Percat who's trying to establish a career at this stage.
Certainly is. Obviously, these guys use the series for different reasons. Rodney has a bit of an escape from the business world, but is Nick trying to actually create himself a career in the sport now. But Steve Owen up the inside on the exit of turn 2. We can see there, just the run that you can get out of turn 2. You can carry that speed all the way down the back straight, makes it a very easy pass into turn 3.
Jack Perkins just behind them. It's Rodney Jane. Good start from Drew Russell in a former Brad Jones Racing Falcon. They didn't get a gain on their second set of tyres in qualifying. They're a little bit disappointed with the results that they achieved there, but 11th in race 1 and a good solid start to race 2.
Yeah, these guys doing the series on a budget and giving the two young Russell boys an opportunity to learn their trade, to learn about V8 supercar driving, and hopefully as the year goes on they can learn more and press on towards the front of the field.
James Moffat did some laps this weekend in Steve Richards' Dunlop Super Dealers Falcon for FPR. There's Jeff Emery off the road, the NDD Commodore this year being run by Greg Murphy Racing as a sister car to Steve Owens. Fabian Coulthard and Andrew Thompson from the Bundaberg Red team keeping a watchful brief on what's going out there. But what's going on is that Steve Owen has caught our race leader.
Now we just watch this run off the exit of turn 2. We see Owen there on the throttle early, getting a run up behind Pedersen and straight to the inside. Pedersen's not going to try and block it. We've got the same move going on here with Jack Perkins and Nick Percat.
So the lead changes, third place changes, all down at turn 3. And you'd expect now that Owen will really drive away. You
would expect that, and we'll keep an eye on Perkins, whether he can make a run up to second place here. But both the two young guys, both Pedersen and Percat, very smart, didn't try to defend heavily, just realised that they were getting past, and the best play was to let those guys through and sit on their tail and try not to lose too much time. And while we can't see him on screen, Paul Morris is in fact the fastest man on the road at the moment, but he's a long way back in the order. And the race 3 grid is an aggregate of the first 2 race results. However, for this race, it's half points, so that's not so bad for Paul Morris. Not such a penalty. We see now Morris up the inside at turn 6 on David Russell, fighting back, and we're probably really deprived of a red-hot race between Morris, Perkins and Steve Owen up the front when Paul Morris had to take to the grass at the start of the race to get around that McLaughlin-Owen Kelly incident. This car that Morris is driving is the car that he drove in Abu Dhabi for the first round of the Championship Series. Greg Murphy used it in Bahrain, so it's a very good car with great credentials. And in behind there, you've got David Russell, young Matthew Hamilton in the Team Kiwi Falcon being run by Matthew White. But Paul Morris down the inside at turn 3, not quite in the gap there, but anytime Morris is behind you, if you're a young driver, surely you've got one eye on the mirror. That's right, and Paul's got the lights on as well, so there's no mistaking he's trying to come through, but you see there, Moffat didn't have to defend. He went very deep on the brakes, and Morris couldn't do anything about that. He couldn't slide up the inside. He probably had the better run off turn 2, but as long as Moffat was deep on the brakes and cleared the front of Morris's car, he was always going to turn in. One of the issues in the Fujitsu series is that for the full weekend they only have 2 sets of tyres, so just 8 tyres to play with. Nick Percat a little wide at 6, Moffat wider, and Morris is in the gap. But what you'll find is that some drivers decide to save up their best set of tyres for the last race. Some try to use it in this race to push their way through the order. That's right, as we see Rodney Jane just looking up the inside at turn 1 on Nick Percat, couldn't get it done, but the tyres are a real issue in the Fujitsu series, because you can spend all your tyre money, if you like, and run them both sets in race 1 and race 2 and use whatever you've got left for race 3, or you can save it all up and have a really good run in race 3. So bit of tyre strategy. What it does do is give the guys learning their trade an opportunity to learn how to look after the tyres and really try and make the tyre live throughout the course of the weekend, so that if they do make it into the main game, that's what it's all about, learning how to drive on the tyre and making the tyre live. And this race, which was originally scheduled for 15 laps, has been reduced to 10 because of time constraints and obviously the delay with the incident off the grid. So Paul Morris has only got a couple of corners here to take 6th place from young
Drew Russell, who is going to look like he's going to hang on because he will cover that line.
Certainly make sure that's a very wide falcon for at least one corner.
Steve Owen, though, normal service has resumed in the Fujitsu series. He takes race 2. James Moffat out wide off the final corner, and he and David Russell will drag race to the line, and it will be Russell who takes 8th spot. So Steve Owen takes the reverse grid race. Pedersen hung on for 2nd. Good job from Drew Russell in 6th. James Moffat and Tim Blanchard rounded at the 10. When we come back to Queensland Raceway, we'll chat to our race winner.